Hey, Omnidogs and Omnikittens. It's Omnidog here with another review, overview. Basically, I'm going to tell you why you need this book. This is a video kind of brought to you by Organic Price Books because they have agreed to give me a special code for this particular book because both JP and I feel strongly that you need to read this book, and that book is ASTROCITY. Now, what I have are the 3 hardcovers that are long out of print and everybody who owns them is driven crazy by their spines because they were put out by about 14 different publishers, all Wildstorm, DC, Vertigo, Homage Studios type creations. This is a Kurt Busiek, Brent Anderson, Alex Ross masterpiece. Kurt Busiek, who is famous for, with Alex Ross, creating Marvels, tells a different kind of story with some of the same elements in it in ASTROCITY. Now this book, the 3 books I will be going over, are now available in one compendium called a MetroBook, ASTROCITY MetroBook. And with the code ASTROCITY, you get $3 off the book at Organic Price Books, and that's cost. So you're getting the book at cost if you use the code ASTROCITY at Organic Price Books. And now it's my job to tell you why you should get it. It's one of my favorite series. It goes on there's 14, 15, 17, I've lost count of how many standard hardcovers have been released. It starts out with Life in the Big City. I'm not sure where Confession will be in it, but it's going to be the first 3 books, Confession and Family Album. They will all be in there. And the order doesn't matter. This will be first, and then Confession can be stuck anywhere. They're all pretty much standalone stories. Confession is the one with the longer arc, and it will be someplace in the book, the MetroBook, and then of course Family Album. This is Kurt Busiek's reconstructing superheroes. He says it himself in his introduction that the 80s and 90s were all about deconstructing heroes, kind of breaking them down, analyzing their obsessions and their psychoses, sort of. And that's fine. That was groundbreaking, and that was fine at the time. And those books are all familiar to us. Kurt Busiek set us about to create a world that wasn't constrained by previous publishers' properties or creator properties. He wanted to create his own world and just sort of let it go and see what happens. So he's not constrained, say, by, if he went to write the XMen, he's not constrained by the editors and what the XMen should be like. He's created his own world. The characters in this were all designed by either Alex Ross with Brent Anderson or Alex Ross himself. So the characters all look fantastic, and Alex Ross does the covers for the book. And the MetroBook will have, as I said, the 3 books, and the MetroBook will be about standard size and in paperback, but that's no reason not to get it. I'm here to tell you why you need to get it, the MetroBook. He decided, what if I told a story? It's got a little bit of an element of Marvels in it, where in that book it was a reporter that was on the ground level telling about what it was like to live in a world with all these superheroes. These books have not only street level reporters telling their stories, but street level people and the superheroes tell their stories too. Now, in the first book, we've got and there are analogs that you'll be familiar with, like the Samaritan. I believe he's considered sort of the Superman analog. There's the First Family, Honor Guard. First Family's probably the Fantastic Four analog. Honor Guard is probably the Justice League. But it's much different than those characters because he's not constrained by anything, so he can make him do whatever he wants. And it's got a very human element to it. A story where a father moves his kids to Astro City and for a fresh start. And all of a sudden, monsters attack. The Samaritan puts down aliens in front of him. There's all kinds of things happening, and he's wondering, did I really move to a safe place? That's one of the stories, and that gives you a feel. There's a story about a reporter and what he witnessed as his first story and how he couldn't get it published. With there's lots of action, plenty of aliens, alien invasion, time warps, dimensional rifts, but it feels like a place that we can be familiar and comfortable with. We feel like we can walk through this world because not only is it told from the superhero perspective, but what superheroes go through, fighting crime and having time for their personal lives. But while that's been done in books before, it's done with such a good, solid human element. You can relate to these characters. There's a story called Safeguards where Shadow Hill is protected by the hangman or the hanged man? The hanged man. He just floats like that, but protects Shadow Hill. Shadow Hill is a throwback to a time of nocturnal creatures. Perhaps vampires live there, werewolves, but they're all safe and ensconced in their own world, and it doesn't bleed out down to the regular town. And the story is about a girl who lives in Shadow Hill and wonders if Shadow Hill is too scary for her to live in. She experiences Astro City, and she goes down the hill, experiences Astro City, and I won't spoil it for you, but what she goes through, you see plenty of action, but it's mostly her emotional response and her thoughts on what she's seeing around her and what she's dealing with. Another story in this book, the Samaritan takes out on a date Winged Victory. This is Winged Victory, and perhaps this is the Wonder Woman analog. And it's what it's like when two superheroes go out on a date and how they can get any kind of privacy, how they get privacy, what their conversation's like, reacting to emergencies while they're on their date. It's written just so beautifully, so perfect, so interesting and exciting and fun. The next stories that I read was a book called Confession, and that will be in the MetroBook, and this takes place in Astro City. It's a multi-arc comic. The Confessor is the superhero, and he gets a sidekick called Altar Boy, and it's what Altar Boy goes through to become his sidekick, how they fight crime, the Confessor's secret, how the Confessor trains Altar Boy. Perhaps this is the Batman and Robin analogy. I don't know. You decide. It's up for you to decide. And they don't have to be anything other. You don't have to compare them to anybody. This is Astro City's world, and this is the world they inhabit. So they fit in much differently than, say, Marvel's superheroes in their universe or DC's in their universe. There's a beautiful story that's going to be included about a man that just can't, he's haunted by the memory of a woman, and he gets a visit from the Hanged Man, and it's what he goes through dealing with his memories of this woman. It's exciting, and the art is great. It's very well colored, and it deals with interesting and new concepts. Like, one of the stories I like the most in the book Family Album, which is included in the MetroBook, that's the one with where the father moves. Actually, this is one of my favorite books, because every story's great. Most of them are standalone. There are a couple of two-part arcs. There's the Confessor arc, which is multi-part, but a lot of them are standalone stories. And one of my favorite stories deals with Astra, the super-dimensional, amazingly powered daughter of members of the first family, and what happens when she goes missing. And the two stories that I love the most, because they're so creative and interesting in this MetroBook, to me, are going to be, there's great characters. There's the Silver Agent, the Samaritan, as I said. You won't see a lot of Beauty yet. In the next book, I believe, is when you'll be introduced into Beauty, and she only has a couple of cameos in this, but her story's amazing, and that will be in one of the following MetroBooks. But Jack in the Box, I think, is one of the bossest creations around, because he's featured quite a bit in the MetroBook. One of the first stories you'll encounter is a crook that discovers Jack in the Box's secret identity, and what the criminal goes through trying to decide what he's going to do with that information. And I can't really say more than that, because it'll spoil it for you, but it's a very human reaction. What would you do if you were a crook, if you found out a superhero's identity? Would you try to monetize it? Would you try to blackmail him? How would you use it? And could you use it even? And the Jack in the Box story, which is amazing, features a visit from two versions of his sons from the future, from two different dimensions. It's not a spoiler. I mean, it's part of the story. But he doesn't have kids, and he's wondering how these twisted versions of himself from the future, how they ended up so twisted, and why are they coming back, and how did they get back? And there's a great twist to it at the end that is really well timed and puts Jack in the Box in a moral dilemma, which I thought was very well done. And by far, I think one of the most creative stories was called In the Spotlight, which features Leo the Lion. He is a cartoon character that back in the 40s, through some interdimensional type magic, became a cartoon character come to life. And And it deals with how this cartoon character come to life deals with the people around him. What's a cartoon character who doesn't need to eat, sleep, or, you know, doesn't live by our standards? What's he do with his life? And it's kind of a scandal plagued life, and how he deals with it, since he is a cartoon, and there's you know, movie companies that already own the license to him, and how he deals with that. And the art is just tremendous, and Brett Anderson does just a wonderful job, and he and Alex Ross have created amazing characters in this, and more will get introduced throughout the series. I think Beauty, her story, to be followed up, is really touching and sad, but it's I don't know, I'm kind of struggling from the words because I don't want to spoil it for you, because it's not coming out for a while. But Beauty is, I'll just tell you, Beauty is basically a Barbie doll superhero come to life. That's going to be in following MetroBooks, and I think that's one of my favorite stories too. So there's all kinds of you know, there's an alien invasion, there are time warps, there's plenty of action, there's plenty of superhero action, but I found it all very relatable. I think Kurt Busiek wrote in such a way that it was almost as if it happened in our world, as if AstroCity actually existed on our world, and how we as humans would react to superhumans, and how the superhumans interact with themselves and interact with the humans below. It's a remarkable story, long story. While they're all standalone, there's a little bit of a string that connects them throughout all the volumes. And I think that the MetroBook of AstroCity is definitely something everybody should try. It is one of the, I'm so happy that it's being reprinted, because these hardcovers are all out of print. And it's been I mean, even back in like 2015, 14, it was hard to try and put together a run. And that was even with Vertigo reprinting some of them. So to try and put together a whole run of AstroCity up until this point has been almost impossible, and kind of expensive. And unfair, because everybody deserves to read this and have fun and see what kind of world Kurt Busiek and Brent Anderson have created. So if you use the code ASTROCITY at Organic Price Books, you'll get $3 off the MetroBook. It doesn't stack with the regular $2 off Omnidog code. That's for other orders. But if you want to get the chance to be exposed to one of the most original, creative concepts, it's Kurt Busiek. I haven't read anything yet by him that I haven't either really, really liked or just flat out loved. So I'll give you a little bit more taste of the art, because I'm just starting to repeat myself on superlatives. That I think that everybody will enjoy this book. It's not expensive at $3 off. I think it comes to $22 or something for a 3-volume set put into one paperback. And whoop, that's kind of a spoiler. Don't want to show that. But you need to get it and decide for yourself. And I predict you will fall in love with AstroCity as much as I have. I'll show you a little bit more art from Life in the Big City. No, this is Family Album. That's not necessarily representative, but see, there definitely is plenty of superhero action. So it's not going to be just some long soap opera of people chatting with themselves, but it's put into several different there's several different layers to this book, which is why it's so enjoyable. Here's a little more art. Here's the Junk Man. I think it's the Junk Man. Puts together all his own crazy inventions and how he has a hole in his life that can't seem to be filled. That's a great story too. Junk Man, yeah. Yeah, but by far the highlight to me was Jack in the Box and his kids from the future coming back to wreak havoc on him, and him trying to figure out, what do I do about this, and why are they trying to come after me? So do yourself a favor, go to Organic Price Books, use the code ASTROCITY, which is in the description. I always botch that word, description. It's in the description below. You'll have a link to Organic Price Books. You use the code for $3 off, ASTROCITY, and give this book a try. I predict you will love it. I'm not going to give you your money back if you don't, but good for you if you at least try it. So please give me a like. Comments are always appreciated. You could feel free to subscribe. And peace and love. Peace and love. Thank you so much for watching.